Ola grew up in a cramped two-room apartment on the 10th floor of a decaying concrete block. The stairwell always reeked of cheap alcohol and cigarette smoke, neighbors argued over unpaid bills, and outside in the courtyard, the only ones who mattered were those with fists and connections. His mother woke up at 5 in the morning to make it to her shift as a cleaner. She came home late at night, exhausted and broken, yet always tried to smile when she saw her son. His father had walked out when he was just a boy, promising to come back soon, but never did. Ola dreamed of another life. He loved staring at the tall glass business towers in the city center when the bus drove past them. In his mind, he sat inside one of those offices, a man in a sharp suit, not a delivery boy carrying other people's food in a cheap jacket. But life gave him no chances. At school, he did well, but after graduation he had to work. There was no money for university. First as a store loader, then as a food courier. What hurt most was the feeling of being trapped. In the evenings, when he returned home, he would see the same local guys hanging outside the building. Brand new sneakers, gold chains around their necks, leaning against expensive cars. They laughed loudly, talked about trips abroad, and tossed money around like it was nothing. Meanwhile, Ola counted every coin just to buy his mother's medicine. Inside, anger was building. He wasn't lazy. He wasn't stupid. The world had simply decided he was nobody. But Ola believed, someday, somehow, he would get his chance. What he didn't know was that this chance would cost him everything. Ola was 19. He grew up in a bleak housing district, where shady deals whispered in the courtyards at night. Stolen phones, protection rackets, hushed arguments that sometimes ended in gunfire. His father had left when he was 7, leaving his mother to scrape by as a cleaner, working dawn to dusk for pennies. Ola was a bright student, but after high school he couldn't afford university. He worked as a food delivery boy, running up endless stairwells with greasy bags. At night he sat on his old laptop, scrolling through luxury cars and penthouse apartments, dreaming of another life. What angered him most was seeing the local street kings drive by in black SUVs, wearing gold chains, laughing loudly. They had everything. He had nothing. And one night, by accident, he stepped into their world. The beginning. It started with a delivery. He brought food to an office with tinted windows. A bulky man in a black shirt opened the door, shoved a banknote twice the amount into his hand, and growled, "Keep the change." Ola turned to leave, but froze when he heard voices behind the half-closed door. "Tomorrow we need someone to move the bag." The driver bailed again. "We just need a kid. Someone invisible." That sentence followed him home. By the next day, someone called him with an offer. Simple job. Deliver a package of documents. No questions. Easy money. He was paid more than his whole week's wages in one trip. He told himself it was harmless. Just a package. But that was only the first step down the spiral. First steps. The packages grew heavier. First, documents. Then envelopes stuffed with cash. Later, sealed boxes with no explanation. Ola didn't ask. He didn't dare. Within months, he was earning more than his mother did in a year. He bought a new phone, brand-name sneakers, even treated himself to a leather jacket. Suddenly, girls noticed him. Friends whispered jealously. But with money came rules. Don't ask, don't talk, don't hesitate. The rise. Ola was clever. He didn't just carry. He listened, observed, memorized. He mapped out who owed whom, which boss hated which partner, where the weaknesses were. One day, when a senior made a mistake during a deal, Ola quietly slipped the right information at the right moment. The deal, worth millions, was saved. For that, he got his first real cut, $10,000. More than he had ever held in his life. From that day, he wasn't just a courier. He was useful. He started attending meetings, shaking hands with men who controlled entire districts, people who lived above the law. The boy from the housing block was becoming part of the city's underworld elite. More enemies than friends. But climbing up always makes you a target. His first real enemy appeared, Artem, a longtime lieutenant of one of the bosses. Artem believed Ola was stealing his place, rising too fast. He tried to frame him, once planting a bag of cocaine in his car, another time whispering that Ola leaked information. But Ola survived. He turned traps into opportunities, exposed lies with quick thinking. Cold calculation saved him again and again. He was learning the rule that would define his new life. Friends are temporary, enemies are forever. The closest friend. The only person he truly trusted was his childhood friend, Maxim. They had grown up together, sharing cigarettes behind the school, sitting on cold staircases, laughing about girls they could never have. When Ola began to rise, he pulled Maxim into the business too. At first, Maxim was dazzled. The money, the cars, the clubs. But it wasn't enough. He spiraled into gambling, drugs, women. Ola tried to pull him back, but Maxim slipped deeper with each month. The breaking point. Then came their biggest task yet, laundering a massive sum through a fake company. It was their chance to prove themselves, to move higher. But during the operation, disaster struck. Police raided the office. Chaos, sirens, arrests. Someone had tipped them off. After bribes and connections smoothed things over, the truth came out. It was Maxim, Ola's best friend. His brother. He had betrayed them, selling the information to pay off his gambling debts. The realization cut deeper than any knife. The endgame. That night, rain hammered the windshield as they sat in Ola's car. Maxim's hands trembled. His voice broke. "I didn't want to. They would have killed me. I had no choice, Ola. Please, please believe me." Ola said nothing. In his hand, heavy and cold, was a pistol. The boy who once dreamed of escaping poverty had become judge, jury, and executioner. He understood now. Wealth in this world was measured not in millions, but in blood and silence. He had to choose, let Maxim live and lose his place in the underworld, or pull the trigger and bury the last piece of innocence he had left. The gunshot shattered the storm's silence. Did Maxim die? No one would ever know. But one thing was certain. That night, Ola crossed the final line. He became part of the Dark Capital, and there was no way back.